Your biggest problem is that you think that the world should be the way you want it to be. That's not going to happen. You think that the people in your life should act the way you want them to act. You think your mother-in-law should act the way you want her to act, or your kids, your teenage son, or your grandmother should act the way you think they should act. Dude, they're just going to act how they're going to act. The most secure prisons are those we construct for ourselves. This one's long, so I gotta go. When we think about loss of freedom, we seldom focus on the ways in which we voluntarily impose constraints upon our lives. We voluntarily. Everything we are afraid to try, all our unfulfilled dreams, constitute a limitation on what we are and could become. Usually it is fear and its close cousin, anxiety, that keep us from doing those things that would make us happy. So much of our lives consists of broken promises to ourselves. Oh man, my long guy just got here. Sorry guys, long guy just got here. So much of our lives consists of broken promises to ourselves. The things we long to do, educate ourselves, become successful in our work, fall in love, are goals shared by all. Nor are the means to achieve these things obscure. And yet we often do not do what is necessary to become the people we want to be. You know, this is interesting. He says, everybody has these dreams, to be successful at work, to fall in love. And then he says, the means to do this, like how we become successful, how we fall in love, how we have good relationships, are not unknown. They're not obscure. We all want these things. We know how to get them. And yet we don't do the things we're supposed to do. We often do not do what is necessary to become the people we want to be. It is human to shift blame for our failures. Our parents come in for their fair share. We often cite lack of opportunity as if life were a lottery with a limited number of winning tickets. A shortage of time and the requirement to make a living are common excuses for inaction. Also, the fear that we might try and not succeed can produce a crippling inertia. Keeping our expectations low protect us from disappointment. Highlight that one. That one's highlighted. Write that one down. Keeping our expectations low protect us from disappointment. In the obesity world, this is called your goal weight. Hey, what's your goal weight? Oh, I'd love it if I get down to 180, 185. I'm like, honey, you're only 5'2". You would still be overweight. You'd still be obese. Oh, I just want to be realistic. Does that make sense? This is the same thing. Oh, if I could just get into Wonderland, I'd be amazed. Like, honey, no. You're 5'2", you should be 120. Dr. V's 5'8", 135. But I just want to be realistic. Keeping our expectations low protect us from disappointment. We do not like to think of ourselves as trapped. This is, after all, the land of opportunity. We are surrounded by images of success. Our culture presents us constantly with stories of people who rose from obscurity to fame, often with limited talent. Rather than take hope from these stories, most people absorb them as additional indications of their own inadequacy. Yeah, like we hear these other people's stories and we aren't inspired. We use it as our own inadequacy. We are also confused and put off by the apparent ease with which these transformations occur. The slowness with which productive change actually takes place does not play well in an impatient society. Where do we find the determination and patience required to achieve the things we want? It's like that 10-year overnight success band. You know, like, oh, they got lucky, overnight success. No, they've been playing for 10 years. You just weren't aware of them. You know, actually, here's a good one. How many years post-op are you? And how much weight have you lost or kept off? Go ahead and put it in the comment sections. Does this make sense? Yet, if you meet people, they would think like, oh my God, the transformation happened right away. Like, no, it didn't. It goes by fast. Where do we find the determination and patience required to achieve the things we want? Determination and patience. There is no shortage of advice. Bookstores and magazines are full of suggestions about how to be wealthier, thinner, more assertive, less anxious, more appealing to the opposite sex. One would think that we are engaged in an orgy of self-improvement. And yet the people I talk to, those brave enough to identify themselves as needing help, are, for the most part, doing pretty much the same things today that they did yesterday and last year. My job is to point this out and wonder with them what it would take to make real changes in their behavior. Before we can do anything, we must be able to imagine it. This sounds easy, but I find that many people do not make the link between behavior and feelings. We have to be able to link behavior and feelings. I blame modern medicine and the advertising industry for much of this problem. We have become used to the idea that much of what we don't like about ourselves and our lives can be quickly overcome with little effort on our part, and it's just not true. It takes work. I've yelled at y'all, and I've told Erica, I'm like, it's hard being Dr. V. It's hard being Dr. V. Dr. V doesn't care about you because it's hard. I just worry about myself. The marketing of medications that favorably affect our mood, changing our appearance through plastic surgery, and self-improvement through consumption all play into the fantasy that happiness is for sale. Malcolm Forbes famously suggested that anyone who thinks that money can't buy happiness is shopping in the wrong place. In fact, of course, such a belief only adds to our frustrations and renders our self-constructed prisons more secure. Self-constructed prisons more secure. I think of this as a lottery mentality. There are those who justify gambling by, 3 more pages, by invoking the notion of selling hope. Those people standing in line, spending money they cannot spare in a game they have no plausible shot at winning, talk endlessly about how they will spend their millions. I did that yesterday. This is not hope. I think I've spent $300 on this last lottery. This is not hope in any realistic sense. It is dreaming. But I know I'm dreaming. I tend to confront patients who talk about changing their lives but do not take concrete steps to do so. I often ask them whether their latest plan to do something different is a real expression of intent or simply a wish. The latter can be entertaining and distracting, but should not be confused with reality. Is your latest plan to do something different is a real expression of intent or simply a wish? Religious transformation aside, alteration of our attitudes and behavior is a slow process. Change is incremental. Look at any successful prison break and you will see plenty of imagination, hours of planning, often months, even years of slow progress toward freedom. We may not admire the people who do this, but their ingenuity and determination are lessons for us all. One of the most difficult things to ascertain when confronted with a person seeking therapy is their readiness to change, their willingness to exercise the fortitude that is necessary to do so. Some people seek help for reasons other than actually changing their lives. We live in a society that has elevated complaint to a primary form of public discourse. Remember I said that average people, and you are not average, think that complaining about a problem is the same as doing something about a problem. Average people think that complaining about a problem is the same as doing something about the problem. That airwaves and the airwaves and courts are full of victims of this and that. Childhood abuse, mistakes of others, random misfortune. Voluntary behaviors have been reclassified as illness so that sufferers can be pitied and, where possible, compensated. Not surprisingly, many of these people appear in psychiatrists' offices expecting a sympathetic ear and medication that will relieve their feelings of distress. Often they want testimony to support lawsuits or letters to excuse them from work. They are not there to engage in the difficult process of examining their lives, taking responsibility for their feelings, deciding what they need to do to be happy, and doing it. He would be a tough psychiatrist. To clarify the role that I am prepared to play, I ask patients on first meeting to sign a letter that reads in part. Here's how they read. Here's the letter. I do not get involved in work grievances, lawsuits, custody disputes, disability determinations, or other legal or administrative proceedings, including work excuses and requests for change in job conditions. If you require a medical advocate for any of the above reasons, you need to hire one elsewhere. I am here to provide therapy. Dude, I think I could do psychiatry if I did it his way. People mistake thoughts, wishes, and intentions for actual change. I'm going to read that again. People mistake thoughts, wishes, and intentions for actual change. This confusion between words and actions clouds the therapeutic process. Confession may indeed be good for the soul, but unless it is accompanied by altered behavior, it remains only words in the air. We are a verbal species, fond of conveying our minutest thoughts. Remember the last time you listened to someone talking into a cell phone? We attach excessive importance to promises. We attach excessive importance to promises. Like, why promise? I don't care about the promise. Do the do. Whenever, as happens frequently, I point out to people the discrepancy between what they say they want and what they actually do, the response is surprise and sometimes outrage that I will not take their expressions of intent at face value, but prefer to focus on the only communication that can be trusted, behavior. I'm going to read that again. The only communication that can be trusted is behavior. How they act, how they treat you. You know, don't ignore their words. Probably the single most confusing thing that people tell each other is, I love you. That's interesting. Probably the single most confusing thing that people tell each other is, I love you. We long to hear this powerful and reassuring message. Taken alone, however, unsupported by consistently loving behavior, this is frequently a lie, or more terribly, a promise unlikely to be fulfilled. I tell this about Erica and her family. I'm like, you guys say you love each other, but then like you choke each other out, punch each other out. Like, stop inviting these people on camping trips. Stop inviting them over for dinner. Taken alone, however, unsupported by consistently loving behavior, this I love you is a lie, or more terribly, a promise unlikely to be fulfilled. The disconnect between what we say and what we do is not merely a measure of hypocrisy. Since we usually believe our statements of good intent, we simply pay too much attention to words, ours and others, and not enough to the actions that really define us. So here's task number 1. Write this down. Today, from today forward, start emphasizing behavior over words. Words are cheap. Watch people's behaviors. Watch your own behaviors. You cannot bitch about your weight regain if you're sitting there snacking. You know who you are, I love you, but don't be bitching that you need another surgery or new surgery, or your surgery didn't work for you and you're sitting there eating junk. And if it's not you, then you know these people. You know them. You know your sister. Actually, here, comment if you or your sister, you know somebody who's bitching that their surgery did not work for them and they're eating shit. They're not doing the doo-doo. They're not, doing the things. Okay, here comes the lawn guy. I think he's gonna go in the backyard, so we'll be good. The disconnect between what we say and what we do is not merely a measure of hypocrisy, since we usually believe our statements of good intent. We simply pay too much attention to words, ours and others, and not enough to the actions that really define us. The walls of our self-constructed prisons are made up in equal parts of our fear of risk and our dream that the world and the people in it will conform to our fondest wishes. That's the prison. Holy shit. That's the prison. The prison, the walls of our self-constructed prison are made up in equal parts of our fear of risk, that's our prison walls, and our dream that the world and people in it will conform to our fondest wishes. That's the prison. It is hard to let go of a comforting illusion, but harder still not to construct a happy life out of perceptions and beliefs that do not correspond to the world around us. Wow, what a chapter. So if you want to break free of your prison is your fear of risk and your belief that the world needs to be the way you want it to be, which is Sadhguru. Your biggest problem is that you think that the world should be the way you want it to be. That's not going to happen. You think that the people in your life should act the way you want them to act. You think your mother-in-law should act the way you want her to act, or your kids, your teenage son, or your grandmother should act the way you think they should act. Dude, they're just going to act how they're going to act. I don't have a self-imposed prison. Ugh, I let people be the way they're going to be. I watch their behaviors. I know I'll probably never buy another car from this Car J guy. How can you not at least change the oil in a car? Oh, I took it on consignment because the guy is one of my customers. He's a multi-millionaire. Nah, I drive this car all over. I drove in and picked up my daughter at school. How long have you had it? A month? Hey man, these brakes are hard to stop. No, I have to press hard on these brakes. He goes, no, you just gotta stop them hard. It needs new brakes. And I told him it needs new brakes. He goes, nah. Whatever. So, your challenges from day to day moving forward. Look at other people's behaviors, but also look at your own behaviors. Are you saying one thing and doing another thing? It's really behaviors. Oh, I really want to lose this weight regain, and then you go eat shit. You stop for McDonald's. You know who you are. You had to have the snack at 4 p.m. Why? Why? Oh, it's my blood sugar's getting low. No. It's behaviors. You know it, right? 10-year overnight success. Most people who've had weight loss surgery cannot say that they've kept the weight off for more than 5 years. Most people. They all experience a certain amount of weight regain. So, how has Dr. V been 135 pounds since 2008? I don't know. And he eats out all the time. And he cooks all the time. And he has M&Ms. And he drinks alcohol. Maybe he's lucky. Maybe it's his metabolism. And then I look down and I'm like, dude, I have a little middle-aged pot belly. Does this make sense? I'm still 135, but I have a little middle-aged pot belly now. Oh, see? It's sneaking up on you, doc. So now I have to change my behaviors. You know? Why do my teeth hurt? Oh, it might be those M&Ms. It might be cavities. Behaviors. It's my behaviors. It will take its toll eventually. You give it enough time, it will take its toll.